Hey, y'all doing? Thanks for joining me again. So here we are on the story. This was right about the time we hired Heckle and Jekyll. It was good because it took some stress off me. Like I said, it was about probably 6 weeks I was working by myself. But the good part was when we started making sales. Initially, we had the tip thing off because it didn't make sense to have the tip thing on. But then people started asking, can you have they can have a tip? So we turned it on. And then it actually did pretty well for me because, just busting my ass up there within that small period. I got the bulk of the money that I used to spend to buy the Lord of the Rings Magic the Gathering set once that came out. Because that was mostly tip money that bought it. But once Heckle and Jekyll came in, I started dividing the money up. So it wasn't that much. But I kind of care about that. I was just happy to have a little less stress off of me. But it was then teaching them the ropes, how everything worked, because it wasn't just like, a regular hobby shop. We had the cafe. Like I said, there was all these bells and whistles, and it just kept adding more and more. And the cafe was important because there's a lot of particulars you have to do. And this is what frustrated me because it wasn't hard, and I knew you could do it because I did it by myself. But once they came in, it was like fighting them to get them to do the little things. And what I mean is, like, as soon as something comes out of the oven, a pan, first thing you got to do is take it out of the pan, put it in the basket, and then put it in the sink and spray it off. You want to spray it off because there's butter and oil on that pan, and you want it to go down the sink hot. What these lazy yokels were doing, they would put them in there, and they would just throw the pan in the sink and leave it. And then the butter and oil would slide down, get hard, and there'd be chunks of oil and stuff sitting right there in the sink. Then what do you think is going to happen when you put that down the sink now? And it's like just common sense. It's like, you want longevity out of this sink? You want to do it right. Spray it hot. When it comes out, it's easier to go down. And it's not something that's difficult. It took 2 seconds. Just done. I did it every time. But again, it was just the laziness. And it's like I didn't realize it just then. But looking back, like I said, doing the after action report, seeing everything over again, how it went down, it opened my eyes to a very different experience that I had than when I was there. Because, like I said, I thought this was something better than it was for me, but it really wasn't. It was just, for my part, like I said, it's a great store. I'm sure people are happy and lovely there, but for my part, I was just used. Used and abused by freaking multiple people. And it was just because I wouldn't be a dick. And it's like, I don't want to be that guy anymore. I want to find a world where I don't have to be a dick, where it's like, I find people who understand and want to do the job correctly because that's who they are. Not people who have to be freaking forced into it through nefarious means. But anyways, it was, again, teaching those particulars because there was the ebb and flow of the kitchen. As soon as the order comes in, you got to put the ticket up right to the left, and we slid it all the way, or put it to the left and slid it to the right. That way the oldest was to the right because you had to have that. That's important because if not, you lose orders. And then we had 2 levels. That way we could have timed orders on top and stuff coming out right now in the front. And then we had the baskets and then these little papers that went into the baskets. So it's basically showing them that you take the food, butter the pan, because that's the first step, is butter the pan, spray the pan, put what you need on there. If there's anything got to be mic'd, put it in the mic. When it comes out, drop it in the pan, put it in the oven, how long it comes out. When it comes out, plate it. And when you plate it, you got to plate it well. And it's like, even with the baskets, it's another aspect. It's like when you wash these baskets, we only had so many. And I showed them how to stack them up and let them dry. But they would leave them there. It's like, you let them, when I take it, I'd wash the basket, I'd tap both sides twice. That knocked off most of the water because it was hot water right on it. I'd set it for like maybe 2 minutes and it'd be dry. 5 minutes tops. They would let them sit in there overnight. Like the kid who were closed, he would leave it there overnight instead of just drying the dishes and putting them away. And it's like they would leave it to the point where now when you put them in the baskets and the paper's right, they put the paper and then they put the basket and then they use it. Now it's not formed. The reason I tell them to do it ahead of time is so when you put the wax paper in the basket, it forms into the bowl. So when you take it out, it stays that shape. And then from there, you got to, once you put the food in the basket that is formed, you put the garnish on, and then you put the whatever sauces, and then you put them in the 9 and 3 o'clock positions. Because again, it was about doing the best presentation I could because we were charging so much for the food. We were charging carnival prices. It didn't make sense to just slop stuff on a plate or a basket. But again, it was just frustrating because it seemed like, it was something very simple. It's just they didn't care. They weren't bought in. It didn't matter. They were just there for the paycheck and the easy job. And for my part, it was difficult because being a Marine, I'm used to having a plan of the day. And the problem I had with the owner was more times than not, at least half of the week, I couldn't use my plan of the day. It was ineffective because he would come up and say, okay, we got to do this, do this, do this. And it was always throwing new things out there, which I get it. We're in the business, but it made it difficult and stressful for me. I mean, it's not like, because it really feels like he treated me like I wasn't doing anything up there but just, being on fire watch. I was just holding down and selling stuff. Like I wasn't actually building anything, and that's what blows my mind. It's like this asshole showed me how he built his paint studio, and I'm pretty much building it the same way, doing that same level of detail, building his infrastructure, and he's acting like, it's not a real thing or it's not important. If it's not important, why did you do it for yours, Because it is important. These are the things you have to know. And it was just like him treating me that way. It just showed that he had a complete lack of respect for what I was trying to do. And it's like it didn't make sense because he made so many different allotments. Like, for instance, Heckle. In the mornings, Heckle would have his 2 toddler children come into work. He would bring them into work for a couple hours before his wife picked them up, because she was a nurse. So, and it's like, and I get that, because if the owner would have been like, or me even, if I would have been like, no, I don't want these kids up in here. This ain't romper room. The cost of him having to pay for childcare would have negated how much he made there at the store. He would probably be paying more for childcare than he would for his paycheck. So it's just like, you made that allotment for him. And 2, that kid got that allotment and he didn't give anything back for it. It was crazy. Like I said, it was the world that I was experiencing while I was there. It was like 2 sets of rules. There was a set of rules for me, and there was a set of rules for everyone else. Actually, they didn't have rules. They just do what they wanted, Like there was another instance, and this was early on, and it kind of made me nervous when it happened. And this involved Heckle and Jekyll. Because like I said, I explained very thoroughly. This is how we do prep. This is what we do. Yada yada. This is like I said, I'm very particular about the way I explain things. Well, I remember coming in one day and I'm walking into the retail area and I look down the lodge and I see Heckle prepping the potato spirals in the lodge next to Jekyll, who's playing a game with a customer. And I'm taken aback. I'm like, are you serious? It's like, what on earth would make you think that would be the equivalent of if you were in McDonald's, someone prepping the McDonald's food, not in the cafe area, but in the little play area where the fun zone is, where little kids run around and, or dragging their dirty knees and hands all over the place. This was in the gaming lodge. It wasn't even in the cafe table area, because he couldn't sit by himself and do his work. He had to hang next to his buddy while his buddy was playing a game. And it's just like, I wanted to lose it on him, but I knew I couldn't. So I shot him a text. I'm like, don't ever let me see that again. Take that stuff out there, put it back. And then I knew I had to tell the owner about it, but I was nervous about telling the owner, because if he lit me up for those screws, I was scared he was going to fire this kid for this. Because, I mean, this is going to cost, the 100 score, the health score. Because that's a health code violation. You can't take freaking food and prep it outside the prep area. That's nuts. But it didn't happen that way, man. I remember when I told the owner I was nervous, and then it blew my mind because I saw him not give a care in his eyes. I was real, I tried to slide it in real easy because I didn't, like I said, I was nervous he was going to fire the kid. And then, like, when I said it, it's like, yeah, I saw him. And he's like, yeah, no, I saw him too. He's like, yeah, I'm not worried about that right now. And I'm like, wait, what? It's like, you lit me up for screws and you don't care that an underling just risked the health score and did something, just a blatant violation like that? But like I said, it was 2 different worlds I was living in. And it was the frustrating part. It's like, there was no reason for it, because why was someone who was bought in being beaten for doing the work as best as they can, while people who weren't bought in were allowed to screw off however they wanted? I don't know. Can't answer that one yet. But anyways, thank you for your time. Hope you guys have a great day. Take care, and thank you for listening as always.